Hey everyone, feeper here, back with another video for you. So this one's going to be slightly different. I was rewatching Game of Thrones for like the 5th time or something the other day, and I noticed something in a scene that I didn't quite pick up the other 4 times I watched the show. The scene in question is when Jon Snow is going beyond the wall to attack the Night's Watch mutineers and has to ask for volunteers. This scene has some particularly good storytelling and reinforcement through the use of music. Of course, this isn't the only time this happens in the series, as Ramin Djawadi's music, and I hope I pronounced his name correctly, is one of the very few things that doesn't take a complete nosedive in season 7 and 8. Not only is his music superbly composed with great motifs used for each house that are combined with different chords to fit a character or a house's triumph or defeat, his music is also a great storytelling device that subconsciously clues the listener in on the true motives of certain characters. So we'll discuss how this plays out in the scene and how it impacts the scene right after the intro. So the scene that I've chosen to discuss here isn't the most important to the narrative, but it does a great job of showing what I'm going to be talking about. If any of you need a recap, our boy Jon Snow was leading a raiding party north to kill some mutineers who betrayed the last commander of their order, the Night's Watch. There's also an army marching down on the Night's Watch that will crush them if they get to the mutineers first, because they will get intel about their defenses, how many men they have, etc. So our hero Jon needs volunteers to come north with him. That's the setup. However, one of the people who volunteers to go with him was sent by someone else to kill Jon and his quote-unquote half-brothers because Jon's family could contest them for rule over lands in the south. That person is our boy Locke, seen here. I'm going to let the scene play out first and just listen to the music as each volunteer stands up to join Jon on his mission.
You foray to Craster's Keep. I'll sanction it. But I won't order anyone to go with you. Volunteers only.
Thank you, Sir Alistair. Brothers. I'm going beyond the wall to Craster's Keep. I'm going to capture the mutineers holed up there. Or kill them. I'm asking for volunteers to come with me. There's 60 miles of wilderness between here and Craster's. And Mance Rayder has an army bearing down on us. But we have to do this. Our survival may depend on us getting to these mutineers before Mance does. They know the wall. They know our defenses. If Mance learns what they know, we're lost. But if that's not enough, then consider this. If the Night's Watch are truly brothers, then Lord Commander Mormont was our father. He lived and died for the Watch, and he was betrayed by his own men, stabbed in the back by cowards. He deserved far better. All we can give him now is justice. Who will join me? Can't let a recruit come north of the wall.
Let me say my vows. If it's a fight you're heading for, then you need men who know how.
Thank you, brothers.
Okay, so you can hear how until Locke stands up, the music is quite happy sounding, it's very triumphant, etc. The way that this is accomplished is by the use of a certain family within the orchestra, the brass family. Brass instruments are typically associated with being, kind of heroic sounding, very, very much inspiring victory, overcoming obstacles, winning wars, so on and so on. The other way it's being accomplished is through the use of chords. You're hearing two major chords, which are associated with being happy and being good, whereas a minor chord is on the other end. It's associated with being sad and being bad, to put it, pretty broadly. So Jawadi's got these nice major chords in the low brass. For those of you who care, it's a D major going to an F sharp major. It's very hero-like sounding. Then listen again to what happens when Locke stands. The brass drop out and the strings become the more prominent sound that you're hearing. String instruments are used for many things, such as creating waves of sound sort of crashing up against you, or creating energy and a sense of urgency, to name just a few. Many chase sequences involve strings, and here they're being used to create a sense of suspense and unease in the viewer. Now, the strings are playing what we call a dissonant interval. Dissonance just means that the sound is sort of unstable, it's not a resting point, it's very unclear, and it's clashing. Now, the opposite of this would be what we call a consonant interval, which is what the low brass were playing earlier. Consonant sounds are very much a resting place. They don't necessarily want to go anywhere. They feel very warm and open. They're not clashing at all. The reason the strings sound dissonant here is because some of them are playing an A sharp and others are playing a C, two notes that are quite close together. Generally speaking, if two notes are being played at the same time and they're right next to each other, they won't sound very good, quote unquote. Of course, there's about 1,000,001 exceptions to this, depending on many, many things, such as chord structure, or what instruments are playing what the genre of music is, but for what we're talking about here, notes being close together equals bad. To recap up to this point, we have a nice major chord being built with the heroic low brass as our protagonist John gets volunteers until Locke stands up, and then we get this tension and dissonance in the strings as much of the brass drops out. But why? Why did Jawadi write the music in this way for this scene? Well, there's two reasons why, because he's trying to help convey the story to the listener, to the viewer. The audience knows from a prior episode that Locke is trying to kill John. John, of course, doesn't know this, and Locke going north into the wilderness with our protagonist would make it very easy for him to carry out his mission, especially since they're going to attack a small village. It would be very easy for Locke to just kill John and blame it on the mutineers, and then he gets to walk away with murder. Mission accomplished, goody goody. So that's reason number one. We know that Locke wants to kill John, and when we see him join the mission, we already are feeling a bit tense and a bit uneasy about it because we know his true goals. And the music is simply trying to add to our sense of urgency, our sense of unease. But the reason is twofold. You see, John originally was denied by the acting Lord Commander, Sir Alistair, to do this mission because Sir Alistair hates John for who knows why. If you've watched the show, you know that they don't like each other and they don't get along. So Sir Alistair denies John his mission just to piss him off, basically, but then reconsiders it when an associate points out to him that John may die north of the wall, allowing Alistair to remain commander. Now, two people want our hero to die, and there's even more. Locke also just recently joined the Night's Watch and is technically a recruit, and recruits aren't allowed to go on missions, so John needs Alistair's approval for Locke to join, and since Alistair hates John, there's tension about whether John will get what he wants, whether he will get Locke to come with him, because honestly, he needs every man he can get for this mission. I know that's a lot of information about the show and the plot and everything, but just trust me, it matters to the music. The tension arises as Locke stands because we know Locke wants to kill John, and it keeps building within the music because John might not get approval for the skilled recruit to come on the mission with him. The bass line keeps moving upwards, which creates a sense of momentum and a sense that we're building to something. The lower strings come in on a dissonant note as the upper strings move from an A sharp to a C, remember two very close notes, to a C and a D, another pairing of very close notes, and they're higher in the scale now. So all this tension is building and building and building, and it reaches a climax where we're asking, what's going on? What's going to happen next? Is he going to get what he wants? But then Sir Alistair gives John the old nod of approval, and what do we get? A nice resolution of the strings and the bass line back down to the very first chord that we started this entire scene with.
Thank you, brothers.
The upper strings stay on a C and a D when John turns around as the bass line moves upward until it resolves by moving down one note to D, which is mimicked by the lower strings. However, the D major chord at the end, A, kind of isn't technically a chord because there's no third in it, and B isn't completely consonant, isn't a complete resting point because there's still some tension in the strings because they're still playing a C and a D, remember, 2 notes close together, and that's sort of reflective of the fact that even though, yes, John did get what he wanted, he's getting more and more recruits to join him for this mission, Locke is still trying to kill him. This is a very effective use of using music to reinforce the story and the motives of characters. So our hero's friends start to join him for his mission, and they're all going to avenge their dead commander who was betrayed by the other evil Night's Watch people. So you get these very heroic, triumphant sounding low brass with these nice fat major chords. But then Locke joins the mission and the strings start to get higher and higher and they're more and more dissonant, they're more and more uneasy. John turns around because he thinks Locke's trying to help him, but Alistair might not let him go. So John's like, he hates me, is he gonna let me do this? And the tension keeps building, the low brass come back in, they start moving upwards, and then he gives him the nod of approval. And then John turns back around and everything resolves back to the start of the chord, back to the start of the scene.
Thank you, brothers.
So the music is an audible reflection of what, at least hopefully, the audience is feeling on the inside as they see this scene play out. And that's going to be all for this video. I hope I was able to shed some light on how music can really enhance storytelling and character motives in other forms of media, and what I've discussed here applies to movies, TV, video games, and even stories within songs themselves. Consider liking and subscribing if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments below if you like this more detailed analysis of some music. You can also check me out live over at twitch.tv/feeper7, where I stream some video games and live jazz, so don't miss out on that, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace. If you guys liked the video, please leave a like and subscribe. Other than that, I'll see you all in the next one.